Welcome supporters and members. To create a strong club tradition, we must achieve a history with premierships. We at South Bunbury are so fortunate to not only have the best supporters and loyal members, we have the best coaches, support staff, volunteers and administration. We have also been fortunate to have in the 80s the best recruiting director who was instrumental in attracting quality players to relocate to Bunbury and play for the mighty Tigers. Our 1980s success is a testament to his uncanny recruitment, his personal contacts and his tireless commitment. Welcome, Kevin Erbe.
Good night.
Kevin, please tell your story of how you came to be at South Bunbury.
Yeah, I came down to Bunbury from Calgary to play baseball at the Country Baseball Championships. We used to train on gravel grounds in Calgary, but had the games were played on grass. Out of the 15 players, how lucky was I to be billeted out to Bill Ivory, local boxing and sporting legend in Bunbury. Bill showed me all around Bunbury, including Hay Park. I liked it so much I thought if I could get a job in Bunbury, I would move myself, Connie, my wife, and our first son Rodney to Bunbury. I was the first electrician employed by Laporte Titanium, now Tronex. Bill Ivory was playing football for Kerry Park. However, several players from my former Calgary club, Mines Rovers, were at South Bunbury, and that is where I wanted to go. I told Bill I had a bad knee injury and it wouldn't stand up to playing football. I then started a business, Flash Electrics, and I was awarded the contract on the new building at South Bunbury at Hansover for South Bunbury. I made that my socialising place and so began my innings at South Bunbury.
You were appointed Director of Recruiting at South and had a major hand in some of South's great recruits in the 80s. Can we get your memories of how you got them to our club? Firstly, Vic Pios.
Yeah, Peter Elson told me about a player at East Perth who he believed was being played out of position. Vic was about 175 centimetres tall. We signed Vic and he turned out to be a brilliant centreman. He played in 2 winning grand final teams and was among the best players in those 2 wins. After the second win, Vic went back to Manjimup due to the family commitments. That day South Fremantle won and my all-time favourite player, Stephen Michael, cleaned up 2 East Perth players and South's coach Mel Brown grabbed the microphone off a reporter and tossed it away. Thanks Peter Elson for the tip on Vic.
I believe there's a bit of a story on Wayne Hardy's recruitment.
I had been trying to get Wayne to play with South Bunbury. He was playing reserves for South Fremantle and was close to getting a league game. I went up to watch South Fremantle play as I attended most of their home games. After the game came up, Wayne came up to me and said, "I was hoping you'd be here. Do you still want me to play for you?" I said, "Yes, that was quick. Why the sudden decision?" He replied he just had a falling out with the coach, Sid Dewfall, a former top player for West Perth. I asked him what happened. Wayne said he just punched the coach in the gob and the director came up to him and said, "I'd better get a clearance," and the club had to suspend me. The worst part was knocking on Ross Chester's, Kim Chester's brother. His daughter advised him that he was playing reserves.
There's a story with one recruit that you jumped the fence at Waffle Reserves game to initiate contact with a future player at the club. Any truth in that?
Yeah. Elwyn Coyne. Coach John Depiazzi said we need a good utility player. I heard of one playing for North Albany, whose colours are also red and white, from Jack Hoskins' brother-in-law. His name was Elwyn Coyne. Jack Hoskins, Tom Upson and myself watched that game and he was best on the ground. The next thing I find out, he's playing reserves for Perth against South Fremantle. I went to the game to watch and as soon as the game finished I jumped the fence to see him. Elwyn looked over his shoulder after a teammate alerted him that someone was running up to him, so he took off. I yelled out to him to stop as I wanted to talk to him. I offered him a reasonable amount of money to play and he said okay. He came home with us and stayed at my home. We got him cleared and that wasn't easy.
Kalgoorlie was a great source of recruitment for yourself, with Ray Ewan and David Anderson being two. Can you please let the members know how they came to our club?
I drove to Kalgoorlie with Jack Hodgson and Tom Upson to have a look at two players, Keith Ewan and Dave Anderson, both utility players. I approached Keith and he said he'd be down for our pre-season. I approached David's boss and he said Dave wouldn't be interested. I was home one day and there was a knock on the door and there's a young bloke standing there. He said he was Ray Ewan. Keith's not coming, so I'm going to play for you and I'll need a bed. I explained that we had 4 boys and didn't have a spare bed. I said he could have our camping tent and Ray said great. I told him Connie would give him his meals and wash his clothes. I got him a job at Jeff Prosser's as a welder. He was impressive on the training track but was always mucking around. His former club in Kalgoorlie Railways wanted $1,000 for his clearance. I told John, the coach, and he said, piss him off. He played in a scratch match and played a great game. Deeper said to me he'd pay the $1,000. Eventually 3 of Ray's mates came from Kalgoorlie and asked Ray if he could stay in the tent. I said yes, but no meals or washing. One was Steve Smith, who turned out to be a very good player for the club. The second fellow was David Anderson. David rang me out of the blue and asked if he could play for us, as he had mates Ray Ewan and Steve Smith playing for South. I landed Dave a job at the mines at Capel. Dave was a natural right foot kick and had a very unusual left foot kick, but was incredibly accurate with both feet.
There's also a bit of a story of how the 1985 Pike medalist Keith Wynn came to our club.
Yes, we needed a rover. And whilst on holiday in Albany, I watched a game involving North Albany, another red and white club. I saw brothers Keith and Murray Wynn playing. They were fast and skillful. I came home and the committee decided to see if I could sign them both. Tom, Jack and I went to Albany and went to their home. Mr. and Mrs. Wynn were there, as were the rest of the family. Murray went to Busselton as their coach Peter Walsh had coached him to a premiership in Albany. I got Keith to play at South, but it wasn't easy, as he was torn between Busselton and South. I said to Keith to play 5 games for South, and if he still wanted to go to Busselton, I'd clear him. We won those 5 games and that won him over. That was the year 1985 in the grand final that college trainers assaulted him. We had gone through the year undefeated. For the grand final, all of Keith's family came up to watch him play and asked if they could stay with us. Keith's father also, Keith, only ever had 2 jobs. He was a grader driver for the main roads, but after he got married, he said he needed to be home so he got a job with the Albany Council as a grader driver. When he passed away, the council bulldozed a house down and aimed a park after him, Keith Wynn Park.
Kevin, could you tell the members, how did you assist with Jerry McNeil's move to Bunbury?
Jerry was appointed coach, but he stipulated that he wanted a job as a coach and tutor. I recall seeing an advert for a position at Marist Brothers College. I had a meeting with the principal who told me he had already picked a person for the job and Jerry would have to be good. Jerry turned out to be exceptionally good as a coach and tutor at the college. When Jerry McNeil was appointed coach of East Perth, he took Ray Ewan, David Anderson and Keith Wynn with him. Jerry still shows great interest in the club.
And during your time at the club, I believe you had a bit to do with the great Leon Baker playing for this club. How did that come about, Kev?
Well, when Doug Peake was coaching us, a loose ball was kicked near the boundary and a fellow with long blonde hair, headband, one khaki sock was running around the boundary with a black Labrador dog chasing the ball. Doug called me over and said, see if he's interested in playing. He said he was, and he played in a reserves game and got best on the ground. He played 4 league games for South and was selected in the South West Country Week team. He won the Best Player Award at the West Australian Country Week Carnival and was named in the West Australian Country All-Stars team. I asked legendary coach Clive Lewington to come down and watch him play as I thought he was too good for the South West League. Clive said nothing about him until Leon grabbed the ball at the same time an opposition player was going to barrel him into the fence. Leon took a step back, kicked a goal as the other player cannoned into the fence. Clive said to me, he's a ready-made waffle player. I took him up to South Fremantle as Mel Brown wanted to meet him. He told Leon he had a place in the side for him. Unfortunately, South was zoned to Swan Districts and they wouldn't clear him.
Kevin, when Jerry left, how did you approach to get a successor to take his place?
Yeah, it was hard. We approached Swans and they said Peter Hadley was a great reserves player, but they doubted he'd play league at Swans. Peter took on the job as playing coach. He won out of the 3 years he coached. Peter was one of the most courageous players I've seen. One game he got broken ribs and we were well behind. He came back on the field, the team lifted and we won. Peter went back to Swans and I think he became a captain of the club. Played many league games for Swans. He also played state football, and in his games for Swans they include the premiership, and he's the Swans' current president.
Kevin, with your recruiting, you were able to give one a job in your business. That's Kevin Williams. Just tell the members how this came about.
I need an electrician for my Flash Electrics business, and he must play football. Jack Hosker knew Jack Sheedy really well. He asked him if he knew of a good backman. Sheedy said a young bloke named Kevin Williams was our man. I met Kevin and offered him a job, and he was not to tell my business partner George Dawson, who was a former Bunbury player and on their board, that he had signed for South Bunbury. When I first saw Kevin, I thought wouldn't be much good at all. Overweight, runs on his heels, he would maybe a good seconds player. How wrong was I? A brilliant kick, an average runner, but tough and loved the tough stuff. Went and played for South Brandon, played 2 seasons, but lost the fight with the fence at Fremantle Oval and broke his leg. He came back and started a business in Margaret River and played for them. Ironically, he played on my youngest son Shane in a league match.
Right. There is also a bit of a story regarding Doug Peake and the return of Alan Prosser to the club from East Fremantle.
Doug came to South from the Narrogin area. He played in about 140 games and coached the league team to a grand final win in 1976. He then became the bar manager and went on to be president of the club. I went with Doug to obtain Alan Prosser's clearance from East Fremantle and back to South. Doug bargained really hard for the clearance and got it for a lot less than it would have been had it not been for Doug.
Kevin, you also had a hand in recruiting our fairest and best winner at South, Craig Curly Watson.
Craig Watson, what a boy. 50 odd league games between 1987 and 1989, and the fairest and best winner. We required a centre-half forward. Wayne Wallace was in the state country team. I asked him to have a word with the Geraldton centre-half forward Rodney Joseph. When Wayne got home, he said Rodney had a business in Geraldton and he wasn't leaving. He then said, I've got a rover. Craig Curly Watson. I asked, have you got a phone number? Wayne said no, but he was in the Mortlock side. Bob Hanna gave me the phone number for the Mortlock League and I rang the general manager. I told him that I was Wayne Wallace and that Curly was my roommate and I had some of his clothing so he could supply me with a phone number so I could return it to him. We subsequently got a great player who won our first and best and was a very popular player. Incidentally, Rodney Joseph, the Geraldton player, has a great-grandson and a great-grandson of mine named Rodney Joseph, who is on the Docker Specialist Squad. He's currently just turned 17. If he doesn't make it to the AFL, I hope he will play for South Bunbury.
Yeah, he's got some talent, Kev. I've met this boy and I hope one day he's in the famous red and white. And how did Mark Duffield come to play for South, Kev?
Well, I approached his brother Brett to play for South. He was keen to come, but he had applied and got the coaching role in Collie. He said his younger brother Mark had some ability. He didn't like farm work, and if I could land him a job, he would play here. The boss at the South Western Times, Graham Humphreys, who had played for Bunbury, gave him a start, along with a New South Wales lad named Scott Sweeney, a clever centre-half forward. Mark was an integral part of a winning side, playing off a half-forward flank. Coach Jerry McNeil regarded him highly. He could have been a chance of playing in Perth. Mark chose a career in journalism and became the main man for the West Australian. Then went on to further himself and is now the number one for Sen Radio. Well done, Mark.
All good. Members and supporters, you must remember that recruiting of players back in the 80s was made so much harder with our club's strict policy, no travelling policy. With no disrespect to our current times, all recruits were required to relocate themselves and or their families to Bunbury, find suitable employment and accommodation. This strict policy never fazed Kevin, who was up to the task, and his ability in being able to still attract the quality players is a credit to his persistence and football knowledge. Thank you, Kevin, for sharing your enlightening recruiting experiences with our members and supporters. Your contribution to our great club's success will always hold a significant place in South's tradition. Thanks again, Kev. C.D. Nullis.
Good one.
We know how to play the game.